long as everybody promises there won't be a 3-3 split on our approval of the minutes, we'll go ahead and open the West Jordan Planning Commission meeting this evening for December 6, 2016. As Judy walks in, we do have all 7 members of the commission present this evening. The first item on our agenda is the minutes. So one item on our consent calendar for tonight. Commissioner Pack.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move to approve the minutes from November 15th, 2016 as listed in the staff packet.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pack, second by Commissioner Sikoski. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Very good. We have 3 public hearings scheduled this evening. The first of those is West Jordan Public Works Land Use Amendment, Rezone, and Preliminary Site Plan for 0.44 acres from parks and open space to public facilities, and then to R110D to PF zone. Jim, are you handling that one this evening?
Thank you. This piece of property was purchased 5 or 6 years ago from the Segathis folks, and we tore the house down that was there, and presently it's just storing a couple of Connex boxes that the soccer clubs use there. And we wanted to include this piece of ground as part of the new Public Works project. And what this will eventually be is just additional parking. So it'll help the soccer folks as long as the soccer fields are there on the weekends and when they're having tournaments. And then it'll add additional parking that we needed there for the Public Works complex as well. But that's what the intent of this, changing this to a public facilities is, so we can include that as part of the Public Works project.
Any questions for Mr. Adam?
Thank you.
I'm just turning on my microphone.
Mr. McCandless, anything to add to that?
No, this is just basically, as I mentioned in the pre-meeting, a cleanup item. It's currently zoned R110D. We just want it to be the same zoning as the area that's around it. It was an old home that's been demolished. It'll eventually become just a parking lot or an extension of the parking lot for the new Public Works facility. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for staff? Okay. As I mentioned, this was the first of our public hearings for the evening. A little overview on how our public hearing process will work. As we open the public hearing, we would invite anybody up who would like to comment on that particular item to the microphone there, and if you would kindly give us your name and contact information so the city staff could follow up with you for any questions or concerns there. You will have 3 minutes to make your comments, and there'll be a buzzer that goes off at the end if you would kindly wrap up your comments at that point. And there will be a public hearing for each of the items on the agenda, so if you're here for one of the other items, you would have your opportunity then. On that note, we'll open up the public hearing for this item. Not a whole lot of interest in that one. Very well, we will close the public hearing and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Green.
I'm just impressed that somebody knows the word Connex besides me. I'm going to make a motion that, based on, let's see, I'll make sure I'm looking at the right motion. Based on the findings set forth in this staff report, I move that we forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to amend the future land use map from parks and open land to public facilities for approximately 0.44 acres of property located at 8060 South 40th West.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Quinney. Any discussion to the motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
Should I just keep going?
Yes, please.
Based on the findings set forth in this staff report, recommend that the Planning Commission forward a positive recommendation to the City Council to rezone approximately 0.44 acres of property located at 8060 South 40th West from R110D to Public Facilities PF.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Quinney. Discussion to that motion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0.
And last but not least, based on the findings set forth in the staff report, recommend that the planning commission approve the site plan for the parking lot for the proposed West Jordan City Public Works Facility located at 8060 South 40th West, subject to conditions 1 through 7 listed in the staff report.
Second.
And a third motion by Commissioner Green, seconded by Commissioner Quinney. Discussion to that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Which concludes that item. The next item on our agenda is the cottages at the Oaks of Jordan Hills. We're considering a general plan land use amendment to change from community commercial to high-density residential, a preliminary subdivision plat, and a preliminary development plan. Urban Chase Property Management, Greg Hughes and Mark Garza, the applicants. Applicants here. We'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you. My name is Greg Hughes, Urban Chase. So, I had this pointer. I was really looking forward to using it, but I don't think our PowerPoints are up to date on the newest site plan. Okay, so I hope you have a copy because we've had some good work that's gone on. We had a great meeting with the Design Review Committee, and in that Design Review Committee, which was on November 22nd, it was noted then that the site plan was lacking in the open space 15% requirement. And I just want for the two planning commissioners that were at that meeting to know that we have the plan before you today is in excess of the 15% open space. And I think that, and the way it's laid out, frankly, is I think a better layout than the one that the Design Review Committee. They were looking at design of the homes and things like that. But for those that are looking at today and those observations that were made, I think this layout is a lot better, and the way the roads flow and the way the open space has been presented is a better idea. Let me just give you some historical context to this. You probably already know, but this plan was approved in the late 90s. And it is absolutely the case that as you're a growing city, you need that destination retail, places that people can come and go shopping and everything else. What was not contemplated when this site was zoned for commercial or destination retail was the Mountain View Corridor. Mountain View Corridor came after. This site was approved and this master plan was rolled out. And that poses a problem, or did pose a problem, for the owner of this property. It was his desire, and I think that anyone who has any memory of this process, Ron Radden shook heaven and earth to see a Smith's or an Albertsons or any of those. He even bought some apartment land to take away some of the apartments that were already approved to even make that space greater and more viable for commercial. From the time he acquired this 16 years later, the challenge with West Jordan City, and it's a good problem to have, is that the Mountain View Corridor and its off-ramps and interchanges are where you're going to see most likely, and you have seen, a Smith's Fresh Market site near those interchanges. And I will venture to guess, as you see this city grow, around those major arteries, but particularly the Mountain View Corridor, you're going to see that area grow, and you're going to see those as retail centers. So what happens is, you look at a parcel like this, and it is more viable today, in hindsight being 2020, and knowing all that development that's gone on since this was zoned, as a support retail, but that support retail would be smaller than what it was originally planned for. I want to thank staff, because when this parcel has a number of challenges, and it's frankly probably why I was able to work with the past landowner and being able to acquire it. I want to thank staff because there's a moratorium on attached housing. There's some constraints on what you could put here if you weren't going to use or have it planned for destination retail. And so we had to really find a product or find something that is a smart use of this land if it isn't going to be destination retail. So what you have in front of you is a plan for, these are detached homes. There's great examples of these products that are starting to come in, particularly in Utah County, where that's one of the fastest growing counties in America. You're seeing people that are downsizing. They are, they're not senior citizens yet, but maybe their youngest is now off to college and they don't need a larger yard. They don't need something bigger. And they're looking for they don't want to share a wall, but they want a single family home. This product here are single family homes. They are admittedly a higher density. But what you get in this site here is you have apartments that are surrounding it on two sides, and then you have two large arterial roads on the other sides. And the way that this would work, if not for attached multifamily, even if it were for sale product, which the city doesn't allow for a parcel like this, having those single-family detached homes, and some of those elevations you see there, in an area where you have the apartments, and once this starts, we believe, and I think Ron Radin is retaining this corner parcel for the commercial. He is very confident, and we all are, that helps make that support retail more viable, and we'll see that be developed. But if I were to come to you with half-acre lots, I don't know that there's a market, given the surroundings in this area, for something like that. So this is a unique niche. There's great, like I said, there's great examples of this in American Fork, Saratoga Springs. It's a smart product, but it's not one I think you've seen before, at least the way this is laid out. And so I'm happy to answer any questions you have, but I do want to again point out that when you're looking at a parcel like this and you're trying to satisfy the cities, and because again, we worked with staff and we said, what can we do and what can't we do? The idea that we can get great products like those elevations you saw of single-family homes, get them in an area where single-family homes you wouldn't naturally see next to apartments or larger or busier roads, and abutting support retail. I think that this is a product not only for this specific area, but it's one that I think you're going to see more and more. What I became convinced and why I moved forward in this project is that the product and the project in American Fork, it's going so quickly and so successfully. And so it's really caught the attention. These are not starter homes. They're not for the first-time home buyer. The price range is in the upper 200s and in the 300s, 300,000s. And so I think it's something that you may see more in your city, but certainly along the Wasatch Front, we're going to see this product a lot more. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Commissioner Green?
What's the approximate square footage of a house on this lot?
The approximate square footage will be 2,200 square feet.
And the way I see the concept now, correct me if I'm wrong, they all face the private street inside the...
That's correct. It's a lane it's...
Is there a sidewalk on those lanes? Because I don't see any sidewalks where they connect and you can walk between the houses or to anywhere.
No, the private lane, as it's described in an ordinance, how we can lay that out, we've complied with. The sidewalks that we've made sure are part of this development, you would see on the larger roads as you come out and as you walk along the parcel there, but on the outside, the private lanes do not have the sidewalks.
And I guess I got a couple more questions. Given the elevations that you show us and they don't meet the city code for the zoning, how would you fix those? Because those elevations that you showed us don't meet city code. Because the garages have to be...
We're trying to step those back. So I know you have a 5 foot, right?
If a garage faces a public or private street, then it has to set behind the front facade of the living area or a covered porch at least 5 feet. And all your garages are actually extended in front of the porch or by 5 feet. So I'm trying to figure out how those would actually even meet code.
And Kelvin, there was some other examples that they had built in Utah County. Now these are more examples of the finished materials, but there were elevations where the porches were in front of the garages, and I was satisfied at that time that there was enough product available that they could, even with some minor modifications, make them fit within the PC zone. So.
And I might have grabbed the wrong. We know that the front and the garages are staggered, and I might have brought the opposite ones than the ones that have it in the direction that you're talking about. But we would obviously follow city ordinance. We wouldn't be looking to.
And then my last question's got to do with open space. It looks like most of the open space. Honestly, I'm going to tell you, it looks like most of the open space is just throwaway space. And I'm trying to figure out the utility. For example, on the east side, you've got the strip that faces the street coming in, it's 17.5 feet wide. What's the utility in a 17-foot strip of land for this community? And it looks like it's the same on the west side of that park, and on almost everything that neighbors the street. This looks like a 17-foot drive strip. What's the utility in that? How does that, I know it meets the definition of open space, but how is that an amenity to the community?
So it is admittedly where this is an area where you're not going to have attached family, single or attached homes. I'd gone to staff and said, look, what if we went around the perimeter and put the attached, and the moratorium kind of directs how we do this. The percentage we have right now is at 19.5. I think 15% is the amount. I had even asked, what if we could blend that down? Because we could even move these streets or do some things if we weren't held at the 15%. That really touch, I think, this is the challenge, honestly, with percentages of anything you build. If we say 50% stone or brick, I'm going to tell you, you can have wainscots and you can wrap it. And there's things that percentages bring to your development that when you're looking at it, there might be a better way to cluster the open space, but when there's these hard percentages you have to arrive at, we could actually, if it was better, we think that the green space on the perimeter of the properties are important. It gives it an important buffer. But where we are more than the 15% needed, we could move that. And if you felt that some of that green space was unnecessary, we could change that to your satisfaction. But
No, I'm not saying it's unnecessary. I'm saying that the way it's laid out, it's got almost zero utility because it's just a 17-foot strip.
other than, like I said, other than the aesthetics of it and giving it that buffer from the street, we've tried to bring as much green space into an area like this as we can and honor that percentage. And that is a combination of trying to satisfy the hard numbers that you have with practicality. You will see that there's well, it doesn't really say it, but the map shows on the west side here that there's the playground or the play strip that's on the end of the road there. So we're hoping that green space is something that will draw people to. And again, we thought the buffers that we're providing are important green space to make the project look nicer.
Anything else, Commissioner Green?
I'm done for a minute.
All right. Any other questions for the applicant? Commissioner Heiner?
Thank you. We talked in the DRC meeting about the different floor plans and the probability or possibility of having Rambler styles. Did you guys look at any more of those per chance? I know that I think that.
Let me bring our Bob the Builder. His name's Bob the Builder.
Sorry.
This is Adam. Let him talk about it.
Would you give us your name, please?
Yes, Adam Loser with D.R. Horton. Currently, we're under contract with Urban Chase to purchase the property. We have a full in-house CAD team with 8 members, and we've got them cut loose on a couple of different floor plans to try and fit a Rambler on there. You can imagine a 34 by 34 footprint. It's quite challenging. And there are a couple of the homes on the lower east-west road that face directly south. We're trying to play with some of those and see if we can't increase the setback and squeeze some Ramblers on there. But the majority of the vast majority will be a 2-story product.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scott?
Thank you. What is the setback between houses? Like how much space is actually between the units themselves?
And I think in the new plan, Josh, if you look,
We have 15 feet between the homes, 7.5 feet on each side. Now, these are admittedly close, but again, this is where we're trying to put a single-family home where
I see it.
people would have argued, multifamily would best fit. We're trying to arrive at the density that makes this project work. And so these are admittedly close setbacks, but there's 15 feet between the homes. If I believe that's the case, right, guys? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
What kind of commercial development would you be targeting for that? Who would you be looking to bring into that roughly 3 acres that's been left over in the corner?
So this portion will be, we are not purchasing this ourselves. The owner, Mr. Radden, that we're buying this other park from, but his hope there is to see the convenience store maybe the food cafeteria style food places that you can go and frequent. We had some elevations of some of the things that could be there, but it really is that support retail things that if you live in this area, you could go and grab some dinner or grab some milk and bread and things like that. And but it's more of that kind of style.
Okay.
May I mention too that Urban Chase, this is our third application in the city, and this is a down zone, admittedly. And I understand how cities work, and I understand that retail, it's the taxes. The tax formula that the state of Utah has, that cities really benefit from a portion of sales tax. The property tax on rooftops aren't what make cities' budgets robust enough to provide all the other amenities. And I think that's why you have commercial spaces. But what I would argue is 100% of nothing is nothing. And where you have something that was master planned in the 90s, late 90s, before you had all those destination retail opportunities that are inherent with Mountain View Corridor, it will be hard, and I don't think these 16 years are an aberration in terms of finding the kind of retail activity and sales tax activity for the city. So this is a down zone. This is from a more intense zone like destination retail, and down zoning this to single family homes. But we believe that this product right here will actually kickstart and make support retail viable in this area, more so than what this parcel represents today.
Any other questions for the applicant? But that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks.
Ms. Ryder.
And if you look on page 13 and 14, I think the intention for the commercial is probably more neighborhood commercial, coffee shops, that type of thing. It'd be small retail, I imagine, like Little Caesars type thing, things that can support it by the community directly around there, not really so much as a destination type. So I won't go over the location. We're familiar with the location of the site plan. You have the new site plan, and it's self-explanatory, and there's been some questions asked about that. And what I want to do is go through the highlights of what this product. It's all single family, and Mr. Hughes hit upon, the city passed a cap and grade, and so it's really difficult to develop any. Well, it's impossible to develop any attached multifamily or attached single family, as you could call it, where they could be more condensed and maybe be more space between the units because of the ordinance. And you have to be above, I think, 75 or 80 acres now. And this site is really acting as an infill left over from the old Jordan Hills villages. But it's 14 and a half acres total. About 3 acres will be left in the commercial land use, and then a little over, almost 12 acres will go to high density residential. And the residential density, the gross density, will be about 9.75 units per acre. And it'll be all single family. I'm not lying to you, small lot, but the houses are a decent size, but they're a small lot, and the majority of it will be HOA maintained, the open space, the roads, that type of thing. Everything will be accessed on private roads. It does meet the parking requirement for single-family housing. The ordinance doesn't require any guest parking for single-family housing, and it does meet the requirement of 2 spaces alone in the 2-car garage. Minimum of 15% open space required. Now, it's been brought up about the utility of that open space, and this plan from the beginning has been a work in progress, and so it will continue, I believe, will continue to work towards making that open space maybe more centralized and more a usable in nature. Now, I'm not totally discounting the bufferings from the road. I think at times that is good, particularly if people park along those roads or happen to be visiting. The house types were approved by the DRC with the note that Commissioner Green brought up, that they will have to meet the ordinance, and the applicant's aware of that. The applicant has been made aware of that from the beginning. And then any amenities that will be in the development are shown in the development plan. Now, there's 3 applications here. One is for a land use amendment, changing it from commercial to high density residential. It's not a zone change, it's just amending the map so we can make sure we're consistent with the map. It was zoned PC 16 or 17 years ago, so it has that underlying zoning already. So many of the things that are in the PC zone or the PC zone requirements are not applied here. For instance, approval of a concept plan, because that's just when you're asking for a change to PC. The other one is the preliminary subdivision approval, and the last one is a recommendation of the development plan to the city council. Staff has recommended approval of all 3 of these. The land use map amendment and the development plan are recommendations to the city council. They have the final say on that, and the subdivision is at the discretion of the planning commission to approve that. However, that can be appealed to the city council as well. And so I just wanted to throw that out. Anyway, staff has recommended approval, and do you have any questions for me on this?
Any questions for staff?
I'm going to ask the tough one here. When I look at the code, and it talks about the expiration of PC and PRD zones, and it's got to be, it remains good for a period of 2 years. Why do we still have a PC zone that was approved 16 years ago, and why haven't we done the resolution to set it back to the way it was so that we could deal with this a different way?
It was,
PC zone.
well, it was part of the Jordan Hills Villages, which expired last year. And quite frankly, I believe the way that is written, it says that the council would have to bring that resolution to change that zoning back to that.
I'm just wondering why we haven't done that to clean that up.
I don't know if it's, sometimes staff members can get in trouble if they start changing people's property from a viable commercial or high density use back to agriculture. And so if the city council wanted to do that, then that's one thing, but.
Yeah, but if nobody's tracking it, we probably ought to look at something like that.
So you asked the tough question and I dance all the way around it.
Hey, you're ready to get elected to the Utah legislature.
Any other questions for staff? Very good. Then we will open the public hearing on this particular item. If there's anybody who would like to comment, the time is now yours.
My name is Matthew Smith, and I live at 6676 Westbrook Maple Way. And I would like you to forward, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Maples Neighborhood Group, I would like you to forward a negative recommendation to the City Council regarding this land use change. When Jordan Hills Villages was first proposed, there was controversy because it was so far away from other development. The Planning Commission and City Council only approved this leapfrog development because of the amenities promised, including a commercial area for this neighborhood. Without the commercial area, the whole project, including the oaks, maples, and sycamores, would never have been approved. The applicant's reasons for requesting a change are not sufficient to change the plan. One reason given is that, quote, the general plan does not account for the construction of the Mountain View corridor. I have a map from 2004 of the general land use plan and another map of the West Side Specific Area Plan from 2006, and both of them show the Mountain View corridor along with the commercial development next to the Mountain View corridor and the commercial developments in question. We've known about the Mountain View corridor for a long time. To say that the corridor should reduce the commercial at this parcel is like saying that we shouldn't develop on Vegator because it's too close to I-15, which is 1.5 miles away. The applicant says this is not a matter of waiting for rooftops. When the applicant in the Maple Hills neighborhood tried to change the zoning to a higher density, one of the arguments was that to increase the more rooftops in the area meant that we would get stores at this commercial property faster. So according to the developers in this area, rooftops do matter. The applicant says it's too close to the Oquirrh Mountains. Magna and Harriman are similar communities that also border the Oquirrh Mountains and have a population comparable to the western third of West Gordon. There is a Walmart neighborhood market in Magna that is sandwiched between the Oquirrhs and the Smiths, much tighter than anything would be here. There is also a Smiths sandwiched between the Oquirrhs and a Walmart neighborhood market in Harriman. There are also 5 grocery stores in the Salt Lake Valley closer to the Wasatch Mountains than this parcel is to the Oquirrhs. The applicant implies that being close to Smiths makes it not viable. This parcel is 1.5 miles away from the Smiths. The stores in Magna and Harriman that I mentioned are closer together than that. Also on 6200 South, the Walmart and Harmons are also closer together. Heck, even Smiths has 2 stores on Redwood Road that are only about 1.5 miles apart. The packet mentions that this was part of a central village concept that included a high school, and with the high school gone, that changes things. Doesn't an extra 40 acres of houses where the high school was supposed to go solidify the need for more commercial in this area? I would also like to ask the applicant when the last time this area was really shopped around to commercial developers, because a lot has changed in that time. Was it before Smith's became the fastest Kroger store to ever earn $1 million? Was it with the knowledge that this Smith's is always 2 to 3 times more crowded than the Daybreak Smith's and could use the competition? Was it before the very recent developments and planned development in the area? When I bought my house in the Maples 13 years ago, I looked at the maps and decided this would be a nice place to buy a home. There were a lot of amenities on the map. There was supposed to be an elementary school in my neighborhood. That's now off the map. There was supposed to be a high school, replaced by 40 acres of houses. There was supposed to be a regional park, and that's now in question. There was supposed to be a large area of preserved native open space, a good chunk of which is now being sold by the city for more homes. There was supposed to be mixed use across the street in the Oquirrh West area. That mixed use is gone, and its commercial area is shrunk. Please don't shrink this commercial area. A gas station and a strip mall is a lot different than a grocery store and restaurants. I want this neighborhood to be a nice and walkable community. This change would make it less nice and less walkable. Now for the findings. Finding B is not met because there are a lot of other places to put high-density housing, but not any other major intersection in this neighborhood to put neighborhood commercial. Finding C is not met because this is not compatible with the neighborhood. The Serengeti Springs apartment serves as a buffer between lower residential and commercial. It doesn't make sense to put very high density as a buffer between low density and high density. And also a correction to the packet, the property to the north may be zoned as medium density, but it was built as high density and is very similar to the design that we saw. And we don't need more high density in this area. Finding D is not met because it is not an improvement over commercial, and finding E is not met. We have a lot more houses planned in this area than there were when the infrastructure was put in, and it seems like 100 house development never fails the finding E test, but overall, this may be the straw that breaks the camel's back with multiple houses coming in. And I just want to live in a nice area, and I would really like to keep this commercial minded. So thank you.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to comment on this item? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing, and we typically invite the applicant back up if you would like to address any of the concerns presented.
Appreciate the opportunity. And I don't argue with some of the premise that was made. I think that the owner of the land, or Ron Radden, would argue that would have been music to his ears. The proximity from some of the Smiths to this parcel, he has gone to every length he can imagine. And I wouldn't even be available to purchase this parcel if he didn't feel that he had exhausted every option possible to try and successfully develop it. It would be more profitable for him to do that. He has felt that with all the development that's going on, with the decisions that were being made and where that development is now going and where that focus is, it's why I've had an opportunity to present this plan to you today. Again, those observations I think have not been lost on the prior property owner. And again, buying more of the apartment land was lowering maybe that apartment density to try and make that site even larger for the very things that were just discussed. And we're 16 years in, and it's not that when some of the other approvals in 2004 or 2006 were happening that it was unknown that the Mountain View corridor was there. My point is in the 90s. In the 90s where this looked like an area that would be able to draw from those things. It was in the 90s where the Mountain View corridor was not contemplated. And I think that times change, and I think that's why you have this application in front of you right now. And again, 100% of nothing is nothing. And the hope and the desire to see this marketed in a way where the type of development that was just described would arrive, you get no complaint from the past owner of this parcel, but I think that you're seeing a trend. You're seeing why this land, with all the efforts that were made to maximize the commercial, the destination commercial, have not been realized. And so given that, I think this is a great kickstart to have commercial in that area, to have something that will benefit this community and the surrounding area. But I don't dismiss the comments that were made just now. I would concur, and probably the past landowner wished that there were more that would have concurred with that sentiment. So that's
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hanson might have a question for you.
No, I
Oh,
was just,
okay, I guess not.
turn it over to the council.
Thank you. That brings it back to us. Commissioner Hanson.
Yeah, I have several things that bother me a little bit. First of all, we've got two entrances on access onto and off of 7800 South. That's already a heavily traveled road, extremely heavily traveled. I mean, that's how you get to Jordan Landing. And so we're putting another 114 homes, which will be using 7800 South. That is their only access, unless they go through the apartments, which I believe there'll be a wall there. So that bothers me, because usually the term empty nesters or the millennials or whatever term you want to use, there will be two cars. And so 114 homes doubles with two cars going onto and off of 7800 South. That in itself is a problem. Secondly, and I did bring this up at design review, is the fact that all of these houses are similar. They're not exactly the same, but they're similar. If you walk down that road, you weren't sure which one they lived in, because it might be a different color, but the design is all similar. And I don't think that adds to the neighborhood or the construction of this area. I did mention Ramblers, according to Arbette. That isn't possible. Well, if you're looking at people who are now empty nesters, or their children are off to college, or they're millennials, the empty nesters don't want stairs, and that's all you've got. That is all they have. They don't have a choice other than to climb stairs. Retired people don't want to climb stairs. The other thing that bothers me is there is no place to park their toys. And they all have toys. They all have boats, they all have trailers, and and there's no place furnished in this development for that type of recreational vehicle. So, that is, you know, part of what is bothering me. I think that, like Mr. Green said, it's too bad this didn't remain commercial. It didn't. We can't get past that. It is PC, so they're allowed to do this. The other thing that I kind of thought of is the rear yard is 20 feet. Can it be fenced? Because if you're going to put young people there with children, or you're going to put older people there with pets, you're going to need a rear yard that's fenced because they don't have a front yard to play in. And so that in itself was another problem that I foreseen because it isn't a great deal of backyard. And so those are my issues with this. I just feel like this is a lot of housing that looks almost identical, maybe different colors. Doors maybe, or you may have the different window shapes or whatever, but they all are similar. And I would like to ask any of you, would you live there? I don't believe you would. Greg, I don't think you would live there.
So, we really can't take comments from the crowd. It doesn't get on the public record there.
So that's my concern. I realize you have the PC zone and that's what you're looking at. That can't be changed. It's been there for a long time. It's too bad it didn't remain commercial because with all of the development that's going on out there, all of the housing that's going on out there with the rooftops, I think it would be a great commercial area with the apartments across the street. You've got a playground adjacent to U-111. Now there is a wall there, but there's still a playground there with children. Now, I've raised boys. I didn't get the pleasure of raising girls. I don't know if that's a pleasure or not, but I did not get that pleasure. My boys would climb that fence if they wanted to. And I see that as a problem also, the playground right next to U-111. So those are my comments.
Commissioner Green?
I'm going to agree with you 100% and go on with a little bit farther. Since this is rated PC, or already zoned PC, it's got to meet the PC requirement to have, to move to development here. So really quickly, I'm going to tell you why it doesn't meet the PC zone. One, it does not, and I'm looking at the criteria in 13.5C something, with C1 through whatever, that it talks about the overall intent. I do not believe it creates a more attractive and more desirable environment in the city. There is not, and this goes with what Commissioner Hanson was saying, it does not allow for a variety of uses and structures, and it does not encourage imaginative concepts in the design of neighborhood housing and a mixed-use project. It doesn't provide flexibility in the location of the buildings on the land. It does not facilitate and encourage social and community interaction and activity among those who live in the neighborhood, because they're just all little separate houses. It does not encourage the creation of a distinct visual character or identity for the planned development. It does not produce a balanced and coordinated mixture of uses of related public and private facilities. It does not encourage a broad range of housing types, and I will disagree with the fact that we're stuck with the cap and grade because we passed an ordinance that allows to have to cluster and do some things up to that 70-30% that we can do those. So I know we have that ordinance on the book. I don't know if it would apply here, but I'm pretty sure it would. It doesn't encourage and provide open land for the general benefit of the community and the public at large. It doesn't create a physical or achieve a physical aesthetic integration of the uses within the development. It doesn't encourage or provide for a comprehensive pedestrian circulation network separated from the roadways to create linkages between the residential areas, the open spaces, the recreational areas, the public facilities, etc. And I don't think it actually achieves the safety, the convenience, and the amenity for the residents because there are no amenities except for the potential for a couple of commercial things on the corner. It's supposed to have a variety of mixed uses that include commercial, institutional, recreational. We don't see that in this plan. At the end of the day, this is not a planned community. It's a high-density housing complex trying to be fit in a planned community. I know we've had the discussions about infill projects and all those kind of things about what's the appropriate thing for an 11-acre piece of property, but at this point in time, I don't think the PC zone, this doesn't fit the PC zone, and this doesn't fit, and it doesn't fit. With that, I also don't think it actually meets the green space regulation because it actually limits, it tells us what the use of open space is limited to, and it talks about pedestrian ways, bike paths, equestrians, tables, greens, agricultural uses, garden spots, specific recreational activities and those kind of things. And although we'd like to see buffers, a 17-foot wide green space doesn't cut it for the recreational activities. It's basically, 17 feet, you can hardly put a picnic table on it. So I'm trying to figure out the utility of that particular thing. So overall, I don't think it meets the code, and I happen to agree with the gentleman who testified that most of these, that commercial, when we do these things 10, 15 years ago, and I know things change, but the city makes promises to people trying to get people to get the high density. You know, we want the higher density in the Maples, but we'll give you the open space, yet then we sell it off. We want to create the high density area in the Maples and the Sycamores, and then we do something else, and we don't have the schools, we don't have everything, and in a lot of ways we break that social contract with the neighborhood, and I'm not willing to break that social contract with the neighborhood at this point in time.
If I could argue some of those points, though, we don't have any control over schools.
Oh, I know we don't.
We don't have any controls over the commercial.
Oh, I know. I agree with you there. But I think that the neighbors were promised certain things in order to buy up the density, and one of the things that the neighbors were told was that we'll have a commercial area on this corner, and when we take away commercial area on a busy corner that you mentioned, and we eliminate the possibility of sales tax, we end up with 100 and some odd units here that the property tax will never generate what they put on with the burden they put on the city. When we look at that number of units here, we might as well have an apartment complex here on the property because it's the same burden we put on the city. And the property tax is never going to generate and solve the burdens on the city when we put that kind of high density housing in a property like that. So I'm not a fan of it either.
So one correction, the neighbors were never promised this. It was a plan that the city approved, and that plan has now expired because they put time limits on these plans for this very reason, because sometimes things just don't work out.
I have a quick question on that too. This wouldn't have been part of buy-ups for the Maples or the Sycamores. It's not part of the same property.
Jordan Hills Village is what it would be.
But I mean, the other people that were promised buy-ups on this wouldn't have applied anyways, right?
No, this was part of Jordan Hills Villages, if that's your question.
No, I'm talking because specifically, he mentioned the Maple Hill residents were promised these buy-ups, and this was going to be this, and that wouldn't have applied to their density, right?
It was approved as an overall master plan, so it's hard to split hairs when you're dealing with over 1,000 acres.
It was approved as a commercial piece in a 675-acre master plan. And for the reason, the applicants laid out why this hasn't worked. And since I've worked here for 3 years, I've probably met with Mr. Redden every 6 months, and he has actively tried to do something with his property. And so it's not like because he's not the type of guy that sits back and doesn't try to do something with his property. And that's not Mr. Hughes, that's Mr. Redden who owns the property.
Mr. Chair, if I could put one more thing in the record. Commissioner Green, the only clarification that I would have with the list that you just read, in terms of the cap and grade, they would not qualify. The only,
Oh, because it's not big enough.
it's not big enough.
All right, I
Right,
get
so
That's
if.
right, because that had to be
since-
15 acres.
Since it's apparent you don't like this, this is kind of collateral damage to the cap and grade. We don't have the option to do a attached product here, unless it was senior housing or something like that.
That's right, because we put the minimum, there was 15 acres on that one.
Minimum 75 acres.
Or was it 75 for that? Okay. So I stand corrected on that.
Thank you. I live out in this area, and there's a general frustration among the community out there that this area keeps getting the short end of the stick on amenities. And it's true, we have been pared down, and whether we were promised that or not, it's, I think, is in a sense irrelevant, because as a city, you kind of have a duty to the citizens to provide a good, healthy, and happy living environment. And I'm not against density. I think densifying is a good thing when it's done properly, but good density also brings amenities into the area that kind of make up for taking away a lot of that space. The plan, frankly, looks like some engineer sat down. Sorry, engineers, I still love you. But some engineer sat down and ran a calculation, and this is how many possible houses you could jam onto this property and maximize the profit. And where I understand where a developer would want that and where that's coming from, I don't feel that that's necessarily a good, healthy thing for the people that would be living there. And, we keep, it's been said multiple times, 100% of nothing is nothing. And where that's true, I don't necessarily think that's a good sales pitch for this area, because we just, last meeting, talked to a group that's coming in and wanting to build high-end homes, not a quarter mile to the east of this property. So we are starting to attract people into this area that, developers that want to provide amenities. There's going to be a swimming pool in that community. There's going to be big lots. I just feel like this right along U-111 and 7800 South, that's prime real estate for commercial. And where maybe we don't have somebody right at this very moment that's interested in that property, I don't believe that we can use the past, 8 years as a good record of why this lot hasn't sold. Because the market has been awful. I've seen in my own company the building market really hasn't even really rebounded until a year and a half ago. So, and we've seen that in our own planning commission here, where developers were kind of sluggish, and then now all of a sudden they're all wanting to come in and buy up around this area. So, with that being said, I really don't feel like this is a higher and better use for this property, and I feel like we'd be selling ourselves short by approving a plan like this. That's it.
Other comments, questions? Mr. Freddie?
I like the plan we have here in front of us. However, I think I got to side with Commissioner Sikoski, and at some point we've got to put a stop to houses and start taking care of the people that have bought out on this side of it. There's so much conversation in here on Facebook about why don't we have this, why don't we have that, and we just have houses and rooftops and more going out there. And I think that, just in this past couple of months, we approved that new development on the kitty corner to this one, the same development. I think at some point we've got to stop houses and start securing and protecting this land until somebody's ready to take a chance to put a Smith's like they did at Mountain View in 56, or a Walmart neighborhood store, something that's going to go out there and attract more people and take care of the people that are willing to buy out on this side. We don't want this city to become this starter city that we've talked about. Continuing to put more houses just continues to underline that starter city mentality.
So let me play the other side of that argument, I guess, and if it's 20 years, we do nothing tonight, and 20 years have gone by, and the property's empty, or 30 or 40, at what point then do we say, yeah, it really isn't appropriate for what it's zoned for, and what is that cutoff? At what point do you say, yep, we need to think of something else for the spot?
It becomes what the market will bear.
Yep.
By that same side of the coin though, I mean, we really don't know, the latest market boom just started. I mean, we have houses going in all over the place out there, and it has been shown that once one entity moves out, for instance, Smith's, moved out into that area and became wildly successful, that's gonna attract competition. And we haven't even given it a year since that, well, maybe a little over a year since that Smith's opened and showed that success. So by selling this parcel off right now for this, we essentially eliminate the possibility for a competitor to move into that area. I don't feel like this is the right time to make that decision. And I agree with you, Mr. Chair. I feel like, you know, there surely has to be a cutoff. But I feel like with the burgeoning growth that's in the area right now, now is not the time to shoot it in the foot.
I'm gonna interject as well. At some point in time, we have to develop some good public policy. And I think Commissioner Clooney's right. The public policy is take care of the areas that we have. If we want to be a city that just infills houses between Mountain View corridor and the mountain, and that's all we have is houses, then at some point in time, we don't have the infrastructure, the resources, anything to support it. When you look at what's going on in Draper, out there at Bangor, if you look at what's going on in Sandy at 100 South with the Hale Center Theater and that area there, when you look at what's going on in South Jordan by the track station, if we don't keep some land open and we just keep filling it in with houses because that's our policy, we're never going to attract those kind of developments to the city. And at some point in time, I think we've got to look at what's best for the long-term growth of the city. And I don't know what the cutoff is. But you know, when you talk to the Japanese, they talk about 100-year plans, not 3 to 5 years. And I think what we get so focused on is what's going to happen the next 18 months, what's going to happen the next 24 months, what's going to happen the next presidential election cycle, whatever the case may be. We make reactionary decisions, and I think at some point in time we have to look at what's best for the policy for this city, and I just don't think this is it. I mean, I know where you're going, I know what you're saying, but at some point in time, and it might be 10 years from now, but I agree with Commissioner Skoski. Whenever you look at what happens in Draper. IKEA builds a store, and what happens around IKEA? 17 other furniture stores build up around them. You know, R.C. Willey puts there, the whole furniture row. Competition occurs when people build and are successful. And I think he's right. I think we've got to wait out a year or two to see what happens in this area, because if we don't, we do sell ourselves short. Well, that's my tirade.
I think one more comment on that to argue against Chairman Moss. 134 in the Harriman area, how long did that sit there and empty and waiting for somebody to take a chance? And if we keep filling in with houses, we're never going to have, and there's so much opportunity for retail, commercial, all the way along this whole entire corridor to be R134. And I think if we just keep filling it with houses, we shortchange ourselves.
Commissioner Dean?
Based on the findings set forth in the staff report and the evidence and explanations received tonight, I move that the Planning Commission forward a negative recommendation to the Council to amend the future land use map from community commercial to high-density residential for 11.7 acres, a property located at 6841 West, 7800 South. Specifically, I find that the criteria for the future land use amendment have not been met, and that's findings A, it's not consistent with our adopted goals. B, the pattern doesn't act optional, or B, C, D, and E. So yeah, it's not consistent with the first 5, A, B, C, D, and E.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Sikoski. Discussion to the motion. I'll throw out a question. Give me some more on finding A. What adopted goal are we not meeting, or policy or objective?
I don't think we're providing for the long-term commercial growth of the city. And I'm sure that's in the general plan someplace.
Well, so Larry did actually give us an excerpt from the general plan. Continue to implement the policy of limiting commercial centers to nodes located at the intersections of major arterial streets, or in the case of neighborhood commercial centers, as designated locations within large planned residential communities.
I believe, though, that you could argue that this could be a small node, and it is at the juncture of 2 arterial streets, so an infill of high-density housing here is inconsistent with that, where this is a prime location for a potential node.
Any other discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
No.
Motion passes 5-2.
Well, I'm on a roll. Based on the findings set forth in the staff report and on the evidence received today, I move that the Planning Commission forward a negative recommendation to the City Council for the cottages at the Oaks of Jordan Hills Villages Development Plan located at 6841 West, 7800 South, with a residential density of 9.74 units per acre with 114 single-family detached lots.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Sikoski. Discussion to that motion? I had a question, I don't know where it just went. If we consider these individually, the future land use map amendment, we afforded a negative recommendation. What conditions is the development plan not meeting?
There's no, it's just either a yay or a nay.
That's right, it's the next one I'm thinking of then. Okay. Do we wanna back that up with some reasoning for a negative recommendation, so the City Council has something to chew on?
That would be a good policy.
I'll give you the specifics then. That it does not meet the intent of the PRC, the PRC ordinance based on the discussion.
The PRC?
PC or PRC?
PC. Doesn't meet the intent of the PC zone. So I will amend the motion to add that specifically, that it doesn't meet the overall intent of the PC zone.
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
No.
Motion carries 5-2.
I guess we have to do the third one too.
I think so.
Based on the findings set forth and the design showing the cottages at the Oaks of Jordan Hills Village preliminary development plan, and on the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission deny the cottages at Oaks of Jordan Hill Village preliminary subdivision plat located at 6841 West, 7800 South. Specifically, I guess we have to find the criteria that has not been met. And specifically, number 1, it does not conform and consistent with the adopted goals, objectives, and policies set forth in the city's general plan. And number 4, it does not comply with the provisions of the subdivision ordinance, the zoning ordinance, or other development standards of the city, specifically the PC zone.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Green.
How does it not, on number 1, what's the criteria? How is it not consistent with the general plan?
For the same reason that the general plan requires commercial development nodes and,
So it's the scale of the amount, it's the size of the node more than, there is a node there, there's a commercial node like.
it's the size of the node then, yeah.
Motion by Commissioner Green, second by Commissioner Sikoski. Discussion to the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No.
No.
Motion carries 5-2. Last on our agenda this evening is the Gladstone Place, considering a preliminary site plan, preliminary subdivision plat, and a preliminary development plan for Garrett Land Investments. Robert Welch is the applicant. Is the applicant still with us? Time now yours.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. It's good to be with you. My name is Richard Welch. I'm here representing Garbat Homes and Peterson Development, we are partners in this proposed Gladstone development. For those of you that have been on the commission for a while or have good memory, you will remember that this village, which is called Gladstone Place, has been before you to annex a piece of UDOT property into the Highlands Master Plan that already exists and is before you here on the screen. So, is this the magic pointer?
Yeah, I think it's at the top there. Green there.
So this is Gladstone Place, right? Did I change it?
Yeah. Don't worry. We got your back.
So this is Gladstone Place right here. And initially, when the Highlands Master Plan was approved many, many years ago, long before I started to come and meet with you, it just included the boundary, the east boundary right here was the wash. And if you will recall, once they decided the final design of an alignment of Mountain View Corridor, there was this extra piece right here that was UDOT property that was basically just going to become a weed field. And there was also the issue from our perspective, because maybe I can remind you quickly, we're also partners with Peterson in this whole area here, everything but their commercial section, which sits right there. So you've already approved, and the improvements are all in for, this is called Inglefield. All of these 25 homes have pretty much been complete. These roads were paved just before Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving and are all there. The final improvement of 7800 West, or 7800 South is soon to be completed. And then Aiden Brook Village has gone through your process and has all been approved by both the Planning Commission and the City Council, and simply awaits for the final plats to go through the staff review and approval process to be recorded, and soon to have new homes and new West Jordan City citizens living in those areas as well. So we went through that process. We went a year ago, more than a year ago, to the DRC to have their approval, and then the staff realized that this entrance right here was going to be too close to Mountain View corridor. And so we had a 1-year hiatus while we worked that whole problem out. And you'll see in the staff recommendations that there are a series of conditions that, first of all, require that this entrance be moved down 150 feet. So this doesn't really reflect the final design, but that's in your packet of where that entrance will be, and that it will be temporary in nature and go away. If a series of things happen, sufficient time span, 7800 South is completed, the commercial development takes place and makes the access point permanent. There's a series of events that would make that temporary entrance go away. But now having that worked out, we're able to proceed. So before you tonight is the series of steps that need to be taken in order for the project to get to final approval. There's a subdivision plat that's really simple. It's just it just takes this property and cuts this part off of a big parcel that Peterson owns, and then adds this UDOT property to it. And so that's the subdivision plat portion. And then the big issue is the density buyout procedure that's called for in your West area plan zone. And so we've been through that. We've designed what we think is a beautiful project. All developers say that, I'm sure. But one of the things that's really unique in this, and what we think is really of great benefit not only to our community but to all of West Jordan, is that we're going to spend the money to pipe the wash. You might recall that back from when we did the zoning review, but those walls are very steep and very deep, and this will make that go away. As you know then, that this is already zone HFR, which is multifamily. It's the one area of multifamily in the Highlands Master Plan. And the range of density buyout that's available is from 9 as the base up to 18. And I never got back to Larry, but I've been doing this calculation. So if you take 26 acres, which is what this project is, and our 347 units, I get that our density is 13.23 rather than the 14.35.
Even better.
So we're, in that range of what could be awarded, we're asking for not really too high of a density, given that it is the approved multifamily location. One of the reasons for that, well, there's two main reasons. One is that we're doing all of this incredible open space that'll be not only available to our tenants and residents, but to all of West Jordan, because it's part of the area pedestrian pathway that currently, goes along the UDOT property, but we'll relocate it from this point into our project, and then this is where it goes back out and hooks back up with where UDOT has it now. But anybody that's on the trail will also be able to go this way if they wanted to go northwest rather than just straight north. One way to look at how much open space is involved here is it's the equivalent of 10 football fields. Here's the list of all of the amenities. The active element amenities are on this side. So there'll be a very nice pool and clubhouse that'll be here at our main entry. And we're also going to do a splash pad. Those two will be exclusively for the residents of this community. But all the rest, the soccer fields, the play fields, the putting green, the dog park, the swing set, all of those will just be open areas that are available for use by whoever is accessing the trail. And so that works out to be 41% open space in the plan. The other reason why the density is lower than you might expect with a normal multifamily project is that all of the units in this project are going to be townhome style. So we're not proposing big 24-plex buildings that stack on top of each other. They're all going to be side-by-side townhomes. Nobody will live on top or underneath anyone else, and each will have an attached garage. There's only one unit, which is a one-bedroom unit. It's a very small percentage of our total that has a one-car garage. But all the rest of what will be the different products that will be provided will have a two-car attached garage. Because of the large number of units, we're very conscious about getting the mix right, and so there's actually two different style buildings. So the one you just looked at has a 3-story component to it. This part's the 3-story, and this unit is just a 2-story unit. And then the other portion, or the other product line that will be offered there, all of the units are 2-story. So anyway, we reviewed all of these with the DRC. It's been a while, but nothing has changed in terms of our design and color schemes and all of the things they did. We're excited to be back, having worked out the access, and look forward to moving this along so that it can be the next part of this area of the Highlands Master Plan, that will do things like you were talking about just before, bring some more residents who will be shoppers, who will help support the commercial development that will also take place in the 7800 South Corridor. So at that, rather than me just go on and on, I'd certainly be prepared to answer any questions you might have.
We might have a couple. Commissioner Hanson.
Thank you. Yes, I don't recall seeing this design review. Doesn't mean I didn't see it. Just I don't recall it.
So it was clear back when you were a council person.
Oh, okay. So that's why I don't recall.
Yeah, that's why you don't recall.
So if you could go over your building materials, I'd appreciate it.
Okay. I should have introduced before we started, but Bruce Hanson is here. He's our construction vice president, and he has worked on this project many hours. And we've already built these units before, so we're really dialed in as to how we do it.
The building materials are, I've got a cold, so it's a little very rough here. We have stone and brick, lower facades. Like on the front, it isn't a wainscot, but it'll go all the way to the bottom of the garages. If you take it to the front, nothing else, okay, I'll try. So the lower area, these will all be stone. As you move to the front, those areas inside are stone. I rotated every other unit, so this facade lower section would be hardy cement panels. Then we go stone, back to a hardy, then stone on the bottom. The upper levels will rotate between hardy panel and stucco, trying to create a little step in it. So those are the three products. Stone masonry, mostly brick, I apologize. Stone or brick, hardy panel, and stucco. Those are the three components. Aluminum soft foundation.
And then the colors of like your stucco, the colors of your stucco.
It's been 2 years, Rich. I wasn't ready for full DRT.
They were mostly tans and yellows and earth tones that meet the criteria of the Highlands Master Plan. So.
Okay, thank
No purple or pink.
Oh, they're pink.
Okay.
I want that blue one on 13th.
And this was for Garpath, this was a very toned back.
Because I know some of our guys.
I know you're familiar with our work in South Jordan.
Yes.
Commissioner Pat?
Oh, thank you. Wow, that is a long list of amenities that you're providing. Probably good to highlight that given the tenor of the past application that we heard. So with your open space and very many diverse amenities, curious, how do you maintain a putting green? Is that going to be an AstroTurf type surface?
Yeah, the putting part will be, yes.
Great.
It's concrete with a false carpet laid over the top of it. It is what it is.
Okay. And the swings, are they, I noticed you had some swings there. Will there be some side fencing or something so the swings are just usually kind of dangerous with people getting whacked?
Our farmers don't fence them, but if you're familiar with requirements, there are safe zones. And so a 10-foot tall swing, I have to be 40 foot long with absolutely zero, nothing within that zone. Besides width, I have to be 6 feet both sides. So there are certain requirements. So no, we don't put stuff around it. And part of this is open for anybody using the trail. This is not a Garget exclusive product. So, but no fences are going on them, but we will maintain all the required safety distances.
Yeah, with the softball.
With softball.
Great, thank you. That was the other question I had. So you've got AstroTurf for the putting green and then softball for the swings, and then volleyball, I assume that'll be sand or?
No, we just do turf.
Just turf, okay.
Yeah, the sand's too hard to maintain.
All right. Yeah, same thing for the playgrounds and the tot lot. I assume you've got some soft surface there. That's great, similar to how you varied the components or materials. Great, thank you.
Maybe one other thing I could add is in figuring out how to do the maintenance on this. What we've proposed in our development plan that's in front of you, and I think the city is in agreement with this, is that we will grant to the city an easement for just the width of the trail, and then our management will maintain everything else.
Your management meaning the company or HOA?
No, this is a private property management situation because it's not for sale. It's all for
These are all park rentals.
Right. Thank you.
So anyway, it will relieve. There's lots of different ways that at one point we were talking that the city needed to have a 30-foot controlled area through there, but then it was too complicated to figure out, well, where will the city mowers stop and where will ours start? And we just agreed to do all of the lawn maintenance right up to the edge of the trail.
Great, thank you.
Commissioner Spassky?
Thank you. So along your trail, you've got the open space, and I see in the landscape design in the packet, it says natural landscape treatment. Are you planning on designing that and infilling the natural landscape, or are we talking, when you say natural landscape, are we talking about just paving what's there and leaving the land as it is with the sagebrush and the grasses and things that are currently growing there?
No, that entire zone will be sodded. I won't be doing rows of sod, but it will be,
Okay.
But it will be a grass mix, not a natural weed mix.
Okay. Just want to clarify. Thank you.
Not the way it looks now around the trail. It will look green right up to the trail.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Green, I have to ask, in the roundabout, what does it mean by enhanced landscaping?
Not commonplace.
I think it's similar to the one that's by the Smiths. where the interior of it's landscape. We got some roundabouts that aren't landscaped to the.
I was just wondering what the difference between normal landscaping and enhanced landscaping was there.
Yeah.
They're all hybrids.
You're pointing out one of the challenges with your west area plan
That's
process.
that's why I asked.
But if it makes you feel any better, at least we feel like what we've offered is way beyond the density that we've asked for. So.
Commissioner Beck?
Thank you. So just to clarify, there are no native grass areas. That's kind of one of our pet peeves.
No, it's going to be solid.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Scossi?
Thank you. I keep looking at this plan. I really like it. I think it is very generous and shows good initiative to use that area where you're going to be piping the wash and turn it into a nice long pedestrian area. I think it'll get a lot of use, and I think it's good design.
We're hoping even some of the people that walk through say, hey, this would be a great place to live.
Yeah, it would be good marketing. But I really like the design. I just wanted to compliment you on it.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the applicant? Doesn't look like it. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Ryder. Oh, I missed one.
Nope.
Sorry, Commissioner Hanson.
Well, I am one of them up here. I can't talk to anybody about anybody else. I've not been a very big fond person of buy-ups, but I congratulate you because you have really provided a great deal of amenity in this area, which I can conclude that does deserve the buy-ups. I think you've done very well with this.
Thank you.
Now we're done.
So I won't belabor, what Rich has said because he's really got on this project quite well. But what I want to point out is some of the advantages that, and I really like the way this project's turned out. And I think, Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've been working with you for, I think, the entire 3 years I've been here on this. And a lot of it was delayed because of the UDOT access issues next to Mountain View Corridor. But the few things that the city gets out of it is this large wash will be piped at the expense of the developer, which is no small cost to them. It will be developed into this nice spine of greenway. And how the city benefits from that is not only the regional trail will be relocated to that, but the commercial developer will be maintaining the area within that. And so that takes less of it takes a lot of burden off of the city to have to go out and maintain these areas along the trail. And it really becomes an amenity to the people walking through there. They're walking through, a nice housing development. The other advantage, and I won't go through all the amenities because there are 89% buy-ups in the amenities, and the applicant has met all of the criteria in the ordinance for these amenities. But the other thing is I really like the design of the project. It really does feel more like a townhome development than a typical Utah apartment complex. It's really nice to have a seasoned developer such as Garbett, and I think they know. I know they know what they're doing when it comes to these garages, because the nicer apartments that really have staying power and really stay nice for a long time are the ones that function more like townhomes and not the typical, newlywed and then on to something else. I think people really could settle roots in a rental situation in these, and they're really nice design, and not having a neighbor above you and below you really is an advantage. Now, I'm not saying there isn't a place for those others, which there are, but this will be a really nice mix in the Highlands area. And so with that being said, I think that, Garbett has really come up with a nice project for a very difficult piece of property. It wouldn't function well commercial as it was previously zoned because it is just too long and too far removed from 7800 South. And I think this is a perfect use along what is going to be a busy corridor. And right next to commercial, it meets all of the criteria and specifications for site plan approval, subdivision approval, and for the development approval. And staff recommends that the planning commission approve the site plan and subdivision, and recommend that the development plan forward a positive recommendation to the city council. They will take a look at the development plan on this. And one last thing is that 14 units per acre for an apartment complex is not very dense. I mean, the old Salt Lake County standard was 20 units an acre. That's what the standard, 20 and up. And so 14, so this really does function more like a really nice townhome project. And the other advantage, it is all owned by one company and all maintained by one company. And so.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Doesn't look like it. We don't have much public left, but we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for anybody that would like to comment.
He just smells funny, that's why he's sitting way back there.
He can still comment. It's a good time to do so.
His name's Carvette, so.
Oh, you two are the ones that smell funny. Gotcha. Say that with love.
I'm glad nobody really listens to our recorded meetings.
Yeah, I will.
We'll go. That makes me nervous now. We'll go ahead and close the public hearing then and bring it back to the commission. Commissioner Back.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. To me, this is a big contrast. I love the materials, the design, varied elevations. They've got an array of unit sizes, amenities, and more open space than needed. 17.02 instead of the 1435 that they could have. So I think in good faith, they're not trying to cram every unit that can be in there, but there is an array of unit sizes and garages for every unit. That's a big plus instead of carports. Piping the ditch, energy efficient units, right? Not up and down apartments. And to me, it seems like there would be more a sense of place, almost a sense of ownership. Even though it's a rental, yet long-term renters might want to take better care instead of just being transient in and out. Hopefully, I want to add to Pride of West Jordan, so I don't have any compunctions of approving this personally.
Wonderful. Mr. Green.
I'm going to agree, this is a major contrast from the last project we just saw. And I'll also compliment Garbett for this one, because what you're trying to do is become part of the community and not just have a bunch of houses or rooftops that sit in the community, but you're part of the community, so I like that. The only thing that I'd have to tell you that's the negative here is you didn't get enough buy-up because you didn't put the garbage cans along the trail. So if you put garbage cans along the trail, you'd buy up and hit almost 100%. So, never mind.
Can you work on that?
Yeah. Well, you didn't put it up there. You could have bought up, because don't you get a buy up to 1% for each trash can every 1,000 feet or something? So, you might as well just go for broke and put it on to the council.
I think we're good. We've got it where
Do you want me to get his mic?
But, anyway.
Commissioner Sikorsky.
Thank you. I'm just gonna say it again, I think it's beautiful. I think it's elegant design. I think, you really can see that many people put a lot of work into this. And, the question that we often ask ourselves is, would we live there? Would we want to be there? And I can honestly say that I would. And I'm not really a fan of living in a townhome, but looking at all these amenities, I think, man, I could probably live in a townhome and be really happy there. There's a huge benefit to having that much social space. It really provides a sense of community and gives those people something to be proud of and a place that they can go and just be. And I would want to be there, so I really like the design.
Commissioner Back.
I'll make a motion then.
Please.
Based on the findings set forth in the staff report and the design shown in the Gladstone Place sub-area preliminary development plan, and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval to the City Council for Gladstone Place sub-area preliminary development plan located at approximately 7800 South Mountain View Corridor in the HFR zone, 347 units on 26.2 acres, with a residential density of 14.35 units per acre, subject to the 15 conditions listed in the staff packet.
Second. Is there such thing as a second?
I was just gonna ask, is the actual density 14.35?
I'm going to leave it at that tonight.
Okay.
Recalculate it, and if it is different,
Okay.
I think there may have been a difference between gross and that, but the correct density will be, because since this density, only density figure is going to the city council, and so it'll be the correct figure, 10%.
I'm going to formally request a recount. Sorry. Motion by Commissioner Pack, second by Commissioner Quinney. Discussion to that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Commissioner Pack?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the findings set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission approve Gladstone Place preliminary subdivision plat for property located at approximately 7800 South Mountain View Corridor, subject to the 15 conditions listed in the staff packet.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pack, second by Commissioner Quinney. Discussion to that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0. And the last one's yours.
Thank you. Based on the findings set forth in the staff report and upon the evidence and explanations received today, I move that the Planning Commission approve Gladstone Place preliminary site plan for property located at approximately 7800 South Mountain View Corridor, subject to the 13 conditions listed in the staff packet.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Pack, second by Commissioner Quinney. Discussion to that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 7-0, which concludes our agenda for this evening.
Thank you.
Anything else we need to discuss?
Which brings Dan Loss to one last meeting.
You guys are stuck with me for one more meeting. I got Christmas lights over here.